If you're watching this, thank you for watching. Quick intro though before we get into the interview. This was one of the biggest moments in my life, in my career so far. If anyone knows me really well, you know that XV was my favorite rapper all throughout high school, all throughout college, and pretty much shaped me into the person I am today through his ability to be so comfortable with himself. So being able to interview him was incredible, and it was an honor that he allowed me to be one of the first on-camera interviews he did in the last few years, after taking somewhat of a hiatus from rap, after putting out some classic mixtapes, and still we are awaiting his debut album. But we talked about so much. There was so much of our conversation. We talked for about 2.5 hours after this interview, and there's so much that I wish I could include in this interview, but some tidbits just that I think you would want to know as fans, as Squarians, if you're watching this. XV told me that he wanted to have Nas originally on Pictures on My Wall as a feature, and it would have been a concept where looking at the pictures on the wall, Nas was a poster, and then Nas would be talking as his picture was crumpled on the ground. Nas would be talking to XV looking up at him. I thought that was a really cool insight. He's also working on a book right now, which sounds incredible, and I won't tell you too many more details because I don't know what he wants to release about it yet, but the book idea is really cool, and I think a lot of you guys will get a lot out of it and love it. But main thing is, there's new music on the way from XV. If you are a Squarian and L7, a fan of this man, the kid with the green backpack, you will be very excited to hear what he has to say in this interview. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you, XV, for the time. I really appreciate you and your energy and your whole team for allowing me to be a part of this moment. It means way more to me than you'll ever know. So, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoy the interview. XV is an artist and rapper who inspired his fans by showing them that it's okay to be themselves. He released a number of critically acclaimed mixtapes, including Zero Heroes and Popular Culture. His combination of lyricism, wittiness, honesty, and reflection set him apart from his peer group as a unique talent and garnered a fan base of kids who not only believed in the man from Wichita, Kansas with a green backpack, but in their own superpowers. He's hands down that dude, Mr. 630 when he rhymes, from Planet Squaria. Today on the best interview ever, we have XV. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing perfectly well. I'm breathing. I'm blessed. That's all I want to say. Is the LA winter a little bit different from the Kansas winter?
Oh, well, I had to take off at least 3 coats once I got on the airport, took off another coat once I got in the car. So, yeah, it's a little different. It's a little different.
Because my girl is freezing right now.
That's crazy. This feels amazing to me.
Look, I was reading the DJ Booth interview, and you were talking about how you almost moved out to LA, but it was a secretary who told you, you're not the type of guy to wear a Gucci belt, not the type of guy to wear Louis. You shouldn't move out to LA. Were you seriously considering the move before that moment?
100%. I was literally, steps away from making that move. I still had a place in Wichita, and I was playing for a place in LA. So I could have just said, let me just make that move here. My label's here. I have resources here. Let me just make the move. Everything changed when she said that, because I'm like, this is someone, I always take people's advice from the land. It's a book called The Alchemist that talks about that, where you take, when you take advice from somebody who's actually living there, I'm like, oh, you're here, you work here, and you're saying, you don't belong here. And I feel like it was a good decision. It's crazy because a lot of people have moved out to LA, and a lot of even my friends have moved out to LA, and the scene has grown. But for me, like you said, the dude being himself, I knew that my roots had to grow in Kansas. Yeah. That's where I was going to be myself the most at.
Now, you said that was like, if you have a biopic, that's a movie scene that's going to be in there. What are 3 other things that have to be in your biopic when it airs?
For sure, the moment that my grandmother takes me to a pawn shop and I get a boombox and comic books at the same time. That was the beginning.
That defines you.
Yeah, that defined me. And that boombox is what made my first R&B albums, and that scene combined with the scene we just talked about and this the entire song of Pictures on My Wall.
That's probably one of the most powerful songs I've ever experienced. I actually wrote an essay. I know you, and I want to ask you more about your scripts.
I remember you telling me about that.
Really?
You know that, but you wrote me and you told me that, and I remember you writing me and telling me that you wrote an essay about that, and I remember reading that and being like, yo, I held that deal in my heart. I'm like, yo, this dude wrote an essay, not like a column, not a blog. He went to his teacher and was like, this is what I want to talk about. I admired that.
The cover was the Zero Heroes cover. They know the story behind the song for the most part, but I wanted to ask, were those pictures that are on the Zero Heroes cover, is that the same order you had it on your wall?
I wouldn't say the exact order because at that time my heroes were a lot different because I'm a lot younger. So when I think about the people that are on that wall, I understand like why a father figure would get mad saying you don't want to look at these people, you don't want to look up to these people. Because now when I look at the Zero Heroes cover and I see the influences that have also made me who I am, you never know where those influences are going to come from. So yeah, I definitely had like Eazy-E. When you hear the lines like Eazy-E, Pac was next to Biggie.
Gully and Beef wasn't allowed. Pac was next to Biggie and Dre was next to Eazy. The idea was profound.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of Source magazines and like sexy models in nice cars up on my wall.
Well, you've been in the industry for a while now, and even being around it, I've even been a bit jaded, and I'm not, so you've probably met some of these people or gotten a close-up look at these people. Seeing you go from idolizing some of these people on your wall to actually becoming peers with some of them or knowing them or being closer, are those people still your idols on your wall?
What's the J. Cole line? May your idols never become your rivals.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like the one thing that I hate, and I bet any artist from any generation goes through this, is that the public will automatically make a contest of you and your peers. So even if you're not trying to make a contest of it, you're aware that the public is making a contest of it, and that might make a emotional contest, not a physical one, but just an emotional contest between artists and peers. Now, when it comes to my idols, my idols, Jay is still Hove. Just Blaze is still Just Blaze. I tell Just Blaze it's still an honor to talk to you every day. You know what I mean? It's still an honor to talk to those legends that I know have put work in the game that don't have to give any advice to a young artist, but they're still out there doing it.
What's the best piece of advice you've gotten from Just?
Man, the best piece of advice I got from Justin, I've got a lot, would be just flow. And I feel like that I listened to that on this album, like just flow. There'll be times where I'm like a little too self-conscious or just a little bit too focused on what I'm trying to say, that I'm not writing and I'm not just flowing. Just flow, and I'm water, baby. So that's what I got to do.
And so that means you guys are working together on this new album.
Man, we're working on some things. Justin's the most busiest person. He knows. He's one of the most busiest people in the world. But I have 2 records that they're not on the first album, but they're on a album. I will say that.
Okay, all right. I have so many places I want to take this, so many things I want to ask. But going back, I want to take you way back for a second. On textbook stuff you say, and you mentioned one of the most important moments in your movie life would be with your grandma. You mentioned that you were raised by 3 women.
3 women raised me famous, footwear pavement, not enough to blow up, but showed up cause I ain't fucking lazy.
Who were those women and why were they so important to you?
My grandmother, which is, she's the woman who, if you listen to Be There, Be Square, she's the one who told me, be someone, don't try to be someone.
See, my grandma, she would always tell me, set out to be something, not someone. They'll figure you out.
That pushed me to not follow in the steps of all my friends. And even though they were my friends and close peers or whatever, I never followed in their footsteps because of that knowledge that my grandmother gave me. And then, of course, my mother, and then my mother's sister, my Nana. My Nana, she has no children. So
you were a kid.
Yeah, I'm a kid, and she's I call her my Nana. Everybody knows I call her my Nana. She has 20 other nephews and nieces, but that's my Nana. So those 3 women they definitely instilled a lot of the albums that I made when I was younger. I was always trying to like amaze them. So they definitely polished my flow. They're the ones who were always giving me the most criticism when I was younger. So it definitely was, and those three women would have to be played by the dopest actresses in my biopic.
Do you have names?
I don't know. Viola Davis, if you want to hit me. Hey, I'm just saying, trying to think, my mom, Oprah, if you want to hit me. I'm just saying, just small names. Yeah.
Well, you also had music in your family early on, and you said an uncle of yours produced Ice Ice Baby. Did you ever ask him for a beat?
Oh yeah. Actually, we have a record coming out in 2019 for an Aaliyah record, for an Aaliyah project.
Wow.
Yeah, he's still been doing stuff. He's out in Pomona, repping California, working with Dr. Dre. He did the record for the last record on Compton. He's still doing his thing. He's gonna be real surprised because what we have coming in the fam is gonna be a lot of awesome things in the works. Me, my brother, my brother says he's an artist as well. So yeah.
Shouts to Uncle.
Yes, shouts to the uncle.
And then you also said that your dad gave you a beat CD, and that's when you actually first started rapping.
Yeah.
Do you remember some of your first rhymes?
Oh man, I don't. I definitely remember those 1992 beats, but I don't. I can't say I remember any of my first rhymes. Like, I was so young when I started that by 15, I feel like Jay-Z. Yeah, I feel like I'm Jay-Z now.
But you did say you had a rap name before Vizzy, right? What was that?
It was Little Knot. So like, I was shortstop at first, and I'm like, nah, I can't be shortstop. I'm gonna be as like made fun of, and everybody used to call me Lil Knot. So I was like, I'm gonna go by Little Knot. I used to always wear this hoodie. It was like, it was like my street name. You feel me? And I'm like 13, 14, and then one day, 15 years old, I'm writing Roman numerals on a paper, and girl asked me what's that? And I'm like, how old I am? And she was like, oh, I thought that's your rap name or something. I was like, I remember, I'll never forget Vanessa.
I was gonna say, you gotta give her a shout
out to Vanessa.
But does she know?
I don't know if she knows, but yeah, Vanessa, I'll never forget that day.
And was that the moment when you're like, I want to start rapping and I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life?
I already knew I wanted to start rapping, but from that point on, I started taking it serious. From that point on, I definitely was making my website. From that point, I was on GeoCities. Y'all don't even know about no GeoCities. Like, I was on Yahoo and
MySpace.
MySpace, all of that early, and creating my own website and my own brand and my logos and all of that at an early age, very early age.
You were ahead of your time in terms of personal branding, I think.
Right.
You're in high school, and I know you've talked about, you didn't really know where you fit in. You had the popular kids who you fuck with on a certain level. You had the smart kids who you were with, but you said you were kind of always in the middle, and that's why people started calling you the kid with the green backpack, because that's a kid with the green backpack. Right. What was in the backpack at that time?
At that time, a lot of notebooks. I had rhyme books on deck, like, for days, and I had rhyme books, like rhymes of like can, ran, stand, band, and I just would write any rhymes I heard in a book, and I had just books on books on books, and then I had books of my raps on stacks on stacks. So it was literally library books, because I was always at the library, and then comic books and notebooks.
Can stand, band, man. Those are some bars.
Yeah, those are bars.
So you do that, and then I know you run into Seven in a Guitar Center. You hand him your mixtape. He gives you a call. What's the first track you work on with Seven?
The first track we worked on was a song on Complex. You can listen to that. My very first album I made with Seven. It's called X to the V. X to the V to the, like, I remember when he made it for me, he was trying to show me, like, I can be your Just Blaze, and
ironically,
and he made me a Jay-Z, H.O., Hova.
That was your anthem.
Like, that was my anthem, and I was like, yo, you did it. And from that point on, he made more and more records that were like in my lane, just to show me, like, I need to be your producer.
Yeah. And then on your note to the fans that you posted recently, I saw on the bottom it says call 7 at 2. What did that phone call lead to?
Oh man, you'll have to hear on the album.
Okay, that's good information. I wanna list off something quickly for you. Jay Electronica's Act 2, The Patents of Nobility. Lupe Fiasco, L-U-P End. Dr. Dre's Detox. XV's The Kid with the Green Backpack. Are we getting that album in some form, or was it more of an idea that was at a particular time in your life?
We will be getting that album in some form. And I feel like with the recent change in the music industry, we'll probably get that LUP End and that Dr. Dre, because I feel like even how I feel in my heart, how the game is changing, I know other creatives feel that way, and they're going to understand that their legacy doesn't need to be defined by time. And so they're just how a recent Slick Rick song resurfaced, and people are like, yo, this is from 1986,
and they're still with it,
but it's hot. That's going to happen, and I feel like we're going to cherish that, because we're going to all also evolve. We're going to all be evolved, where I understand why we didn't get Detox. Now, Jay Electronica,
I still... Come on, man.
Come on.
Come on.
Come on.
Come on.
I'm just saying.
I'm with you there. In terms of the changing landscape of music, though, in that DJ Booth article, you were telling my man that, you were going through some stuff where you were questioning yourself and where you fit into the landscape and your voice and stuff like that. What was that like? Because, like I said earlier, you were kind of the guy to inspire others to be themselves. Right. So what was it like, kind of almost losing your superpower for a bit?
I always look at it like when Luke went to Yoda on the second episode. Like, I had to tap into how down I was at the time, because my biggest thing is I just kept feeling like I was hitting a wall. And my biggest problem is I didn't want to hit that wall in public. And so that's where I drew back and, held myself back. Like, I don't want to show people see me hit these walls. So I started hitting those walls behind the scenes. And I think that, just crashing a few times, it helps you understand where you're failing at, but at the same time, you get those bruises and you go, I don't want to keep getting hurt, and you start getting a little bit more conscious of those falls. So it's a double-edged sword, because at one point you want to stop falling, but at the other time you have to, you're gonna have to keep falling.
You were falling awake.
Yeah, exactly, falling awake all the way, and it was a dream sequence. It was just like a dream sequence. That's why it's almost hard to tap into. But I will say that going into that idea of like my Yoda, like finding my Yoda stood for your own daily advice, and it was like I would write just notes to myself.
What did they say?
Just do or do not. There is no try. Things like that. Like just notes to myself every day. If I would watch a movie and go, movies are a representations of life and symbolisms of different metaphors of situations we go through. I would just see that. I knew that what that metaphor stood for, patience, or that metaphor stood for trials and tribulations. And I would just write down those certain moments and make those notes to myself.
You had an entire song that was a metaphor from a movie, The Kick, one of my favorites.
I'm inside a dream that I never want to quit, so I'm just sitting back, waiting for the kick. I'm just sitting back, waiting for the kick.
Did the kick that you were waiting for ever hit?
Oh, all the way, 100%. Because the kick is this is all a dream, and the kick is supposed to wake you up from that dream that you put yourself into. Also, you have to also remember that is that when you're doing
because you technically have to tap in.
You have to tap in, and that's
interesting.
Yes,
that is very. I like the thoughts there. On that note, if you had to hit the reset button now,
hit the reset button. Hit the reset button.
Would you change anything?
If I had to hit the reset button, there would probably be one or two things I would change, Back to the Future style.
Yeah.
Only Back to the Future
only
style.
Only if you know it's not going to change absolutely everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. Only that. But other than that, I think that where I am, where I'm supposed to be, I know the universe works in a very cosmic way that we don't understand. So what I'm going to do is, what I'm supposed to do.
And that's what the Alchemist probably.
Yeah.
So what you were reading a lot during the last couple of years. Was there something in particular? I know you mentioned that book that really hit you hard and maybe gave you a new perspective.
I mean, if anybody meets me, they'll know I'm big on astrology.
Yeah.
If you had met me from 2009 to 2013, that would not have been the case.
Interesting.
So I would say the astrology book, there was one called Sextrology that broke down the gender specifics of astrology, and that's what made me go, that makes sense, and that changed my whole perspective of myself. That also took me down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, you can go far too.
Yeah.
What's the thing we were looking at? The spiritual geometry, is it called? Have you ever heard of spiritual geometry?
No.
Okay, so when you go home, search up, you'll love this. Search up, and there's a couple videos with this little blue cartoon guy. They don't even have that many views. And this is, an Uber driver told me this when she just felt my energy.
What?
She felt my energy and told me, you need to look this up. She told me this is a tiger eye, and she said, I didn't know this before. She said, is that a tiger eye? I said, yeah. She said, are you a Gemini? I said, yeah. She said, that's your protective stone.
No.
Anyway, so you gotta look up sacred geometry. That's what it's called. Sacred geometry.
I'm definitely looking that up.
You talked about everybody's nobody, and everybody's nobody to somebody, basically, right? What was it like though when you had a kid and you became everybody to that somebody?
Right. It definitely changes your perspective of self. It takes you out of self. It takes you out of your own purpose, and makes you think of your purpose for someone else and what your purpose is on that other person growing. And it makes you also look at who helped you. It's all a cycle, I feel like, that people go through when they have children, and that's why it affects relationships with their parents.
Yeah.
Because you start becoming a parent and you might do things different than your parent did, and you might think different than the way that you were raised. And those changes, it makes you that's what people say, it makes you a man becoming a father. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not just being a dad or just having a baby, but being a father. It makes you a man just because you have to go through the experiences of raising another person and saying, like, I can't tell you how to do it, I gotta show you how to do it. And so that's kind of what even pushed me, like, on my dream, like, never ever give up, because your children are always watching. You know what I mean? Your children are always watching, and they'll go, no, because you couldn't do that, and when you couldn't do it, you stopped.
And then they can say, oh, you're only telling me that because you didn't go after what you wanted. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, be that inspiration.
I got two more questions for you. One, on That's Just Me back in the day, you poured up drink, you had the Xbox on.
I turn on Xbox, I pour some drink up, invite some honeys to the place where I be. But that's just me, yeah. But that's just me, yeah. But that's just me, yeah. But that's just me. Look.
In a 2018 version of XV, what would you say on that song? That's Just Me.
I would say, I'm going to spend some funds when I want. I'm going to take a trip, make it flip maybe. I'm going to stay in rotation, maybe on vacation. Okay. I'm definitely going to do things different than I did when I was younger, because now my focus is bigger. Like what you just said, your focus is now your legacy. When you have a kid, now your focus is home, and I'm a Cancer, so it's definitely home base and family and building up that. So that's just natural with me. So the more and more I get older, that's going to come natural. So I'm just going to set up all of the things that are going to allow that foundation to be built, so that when I'm not here, everything's good.
Yeah, the bars were kind of like that. You might want to keep those.
I might want to keep all of that right there.
Yeah, we'll remix it.
That
and
might be a song right there.
2000 part 2. That's Just Me part 2.
I like that.
And who is XV's last hero?
'Cause I'm the last hero. I'm your only
last hero, man, we just lost him. I'll say Stan Lee.
I was gonna ask about that.
I'll say Stan Lee, cause he was a forward thinker. Like just the fact that when you go to a 1970s comic and go, he was writing this during the civil rights era. He's writing this during Muhammad Ali and during and of course the Superman and Cassius Clay. That was a big deal to me too. But Stan Lee was just the fact that he was the first person when it came to comics to make real life in comics.
Yeah.
That was a game changer for me. I feel like that even has shifted our movie culture, what he's done, what he wrote in comic books. So, that's definitely our last hero. And it's interesting you ask that, because with it being the last hero, what happens when all the heroes are gone? Do you know?
What do you say? All our heroes die. Every hero dies. I don't know.
A million villains.
What's a world with a million villains? What does that look like?
We're looking at it.
So you don't think you can put the cape on?
The last hero signifies that, and that's in 2011.
Yeah.
I signified that, we're looking at the Joker as the hero now. We're looking at, and I said that then, like, we care more for the villain now. And now, the villain's president.
Thanos won. You can't, I mean, the Night King killed the dragon. It's bad out here. 6ix9ine kind of looks like the Joker.
6ix9ine is out here. I'm
just saying you might be kind of right about this villain thing.
It's real out here. So we're gonna see in 2019, but right now, it's looking Memphis bleak.
But things cycle, right? Things comes around.
Things are all a cycle.
You're writing screenplays though right now, right? 100%. Anything? I mean, you can add to this. You can add to the music. What would you say in terms of your writing, your music? What can fans look forward to from XV in 2019?
Definitely a lot of music. The screenwriting is definitely going to be dabbled with the music videos, and we have some awesome things in the works with that. But the music is number one, first thing we want to hit them with. I feel like with my break, I've always dropped music even when I'm taking a break. If you listen to my music, it sounds like I've taken breaks between those albums, because I'm talking about,
and you have to grow.
Yeah, my growth. So even now, when people hear this project, I feel like they're going to want more, and I'm very, very, very far into the second project. So, yeah.
Okay, good. I'm looking for. Well, I just want to say thank you again, man, for taking the time out.
Man,
this is
thank you for having me.
you, and I got to shout out my boy Josh Kerr. He's a big fan, and we
Shout out to Josh.
And we listened throughout most of our adult lives and grew with you. So I appreciate you, sticking with us.
L7 Squaring is forever, man.
The best XV interview ever.
Ever.
That was dope, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, bro.
I appreciate that.